Hello and welcome to Movie RX, where I prescribe entertainment one movie at a time. I am your host, Dr. Benjamin, PhD. What does the PhD mean? Potentially helpful dude? Maybe?
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Well, hopefully I'll be helpful with this one. But first, so this episode, I wanted to take a moment right out at the beginning. One of our listeners had a birthday this week, as well as myself. So we're going to have some shots to welcome in Hannah's birthday. So happy birthday, Hannah. Go ahead and summon us some Patron shots, Harry.
Expecto Patronum!
Smooth.
I feel it burning all the way down.
A little bit. So yeah, happy birthday, Hannah. And Hannah's birthday was actually 2 days before mine. So that would make the day in between the in-betwirth day. So also happy in-betwirth day. So yeah, again, on the show with me today, I've got my producer and life mate, Jen. Say hello, Jen. Yeah.
Hi.
Yes, life mate. And today we're going to talk about a show or a movie that Jen had suggested a while back, The Truman Show. And I guess just to kind of give a little bit of background on The Truman Show, it was released in 1998 and was directed by Peter Weir. Peter Weir is kind of legendary for a lot of those really good, like deep intellectual movies. Like one of them was Dead Poets Society. He also did The Way Back, I think was probably another one of his big popular ones. The cast on this movie is kind of incredible too. Stars Jim Carrey, which every time I see Jim Carrey in a new movie, he kind of surprises me every time. Like, I mean, when coming back to a Jim Carrey movie after years of expecting Ace Ventura, it's a little different seeing Jim Carrey in a more thought-provoking movie. But it's got Jim Carrey, Ed Harris, as something other than a hard-ass Marine or something like that. Laura Linney and Noah Emmerich, which, I mean, Noah Emmerich, I don't know if do you remember him in Miracle? He was the assistant coach.
Vaguely, but I've only seen Miracle once, and that was a long time ago, like the first time you showed me that movie.
Oh, it's such a good movie. One of these days. Anyway, IMDb has a very, very short description for this movie. The synopsis for this movie is kind of an insurance salesman discovers his whole life is actually a reality TV show. That is it.
Maybe they just don't want to give too much away because, well, I mean, yeah, that's a rough description.
It's very small. But essentially, yeah, there's a guy who, the whole world, everybody that he knows and everybody in the world that he has ever seen are paid actors. And his whole life is being filmed without his knowledge. So
or consent.
Or without his consent, yeah, because he was born somebody who gave him up at birth, and he was adopted by a television studio to make this TV show, a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week TV show. I mean, if I can tell you some really interesting things about this movie, one of them is that this movie has actually been introduced into college curriculum. They use it in ethics classes to talk about ethics in media and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's kind of cool.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there are some college classes that I've heard about that are like fun classes. Like I just saw some Facebook post about there being like a college class that you can take about Taylor Swift's life
Seriously.
And I know that like long ago, because I was still like just getting out of college, was having, I think it was like a Harry Potter one, if I remember correctly.
So that feels a little bit more to me like something that would make sense as opposed to Taylor Swift. I'm not hating on Taylor Swift. I want all of my listeners to understand that I don't have any problems with Taylor Swift. But I mean, but really, like a college course to study Taylor Swift's life?
Yeah.
That's
I don't
weird.
remember where it said it was happening, but yeah, Taylor Swift classes.
I think we should have a college class to study Keanu Reeves' life.
That would be interesting.
I think that would be far more interesting. And it would include music too. Did you know he plays bass?
I think you told me that once.
Yeah. Like he plays bass in a band. I mean, I don't know if the band's any good. I've never actually listened to it. I think I might have to do that. But
maybe he plays bass as well as he actually shoots a gun.
Maybe. I mean, he does look like he's got long fingers.
Yeah,
So,
that would help.
You know, that'd be good. So, tell me what it is that you like about this movie. Like, why did you bring this movie to me and say, I think that you should do this one on your podcast? What made you feel that way?
Honestly, it's just one of those movies that like, it took a long time for me to actually watch it. Like I had seen trailers and stuff for it before, but after I actually watched it, I'm like, dude, why did I not watch this sooner? Like it raises so many different questions in my mind. And I'm like, this is a good movie to have like all kinds of conversations about. But I mean, of course it's Jim Carrey, so there's some laughs in it for sure.
Right. I mean, even people who don't like Jim Carrey are going to laugh a little bit at something in one of his movies. My mom couldn't stand Jim Carrey. She hated Jim Carrey. But I will be damned if she didn't laugh like hell at there was a part in Ace Ventura 2 where she just lost her shit and it was funnier than hell. But yeah, so I mean there's a lot of different things. I think one of the things that caught my attention with it kind of spurs a little bit of a existential reflection, I would say. Like, I mean, there's just kind of a, you know, it goes into themes of identity, reality, and freedom, and I mean, as far as medicine, you know, that would be good for viewers that are looking for solace, you know, contemplating their own existence, with some of those things, you know, and how the choices they make affect that. Like identity, like he knew who he was, or at least he thought he did. Like, I mean, and that was kind of the whole point of the show, was that the actor was not acting.
Right.
You know, the lead wasn't acting. What you were seeing was genuine. And I mean, I could see that. I could see a reason why that would have such draw for somebody who's a director, you know, like that. I want a real reaction to what I'm seeing, you know, happening. But at the same time, like if I were any other actor in the world where this was actually happening, I would feel so insulted. Like, you know, you think that you have to adopt a baby at birth to get a natural reaction on a TV show?
Right.
Fuck you, man. Like really, that's how I would feel as an actor, because I mean, you can, how many times do we watch a movie and just accept it for what it is? And how often do we stop and go, I didn't believe what they were doing? You know? Twilight that's the first thing that came to my mind was, what is going on? You know, like, I mean, just, yeah, I don't know. But
I'm not saying anything against the actors, because like, obviously, you know, what's his bucket was Cedric Diggory, and he did a great job.
Yeah, I don't think that it was, well, I mean, what was that girl's name? I don't remember her name.
Kirsten? Kristen something like that.
Kristen Stewart, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, in fairness, she did grow a lot over the course of those movies. But that first one, I don't know if it was just the directing, because there is plenty of argument to be made that a bad director will just make a good actor do a bad job.
Yeah.
I mean, case in point, George Lucas in the Star Wars prequels. Like, if there were too many times where he could have just stepped back and let an actor do what they do, and instead he had to put himself into it and got some really bad acting moments out of some really great actors.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, again, that kind of goes beyond the point. Like, I mean, we're giving Christoph too much direction here, but I mean, but there's a lot of things in all of that raises too many questions for me with, like, what happens when he needs a doctor? Do they send a real doctor who is also an actor? Or do they just send a doctor and have him do his job? I mean, what is it that they do? I don't know.
Not sure. But like in that with the bus driver trying to drive the bus away and he couldn't do it because he wasn't a real bus driver.
Oh, and then it goes
the
to
boat.
the boat.
Yep.
I don't know how to do this. I'm just a bus driver. Yeah, that's good stuff.
No, you were talking about like how he was real, but honestly, I don't even know if you could say that completely, because like his mother was staged, his father was staged, his wife was staged, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, that kind of brings up the whole nature versus nurture argument. I don't know if it was supposed to produce the perfect 50s, white picket fence, man gives his wife a kiss on the porch and, hurries off to work with his, with his briefcase thing.
It definitely like made it look that way.
But that's what you got. And I wonder if it was because of, being raised in a controlled environment where perfection was the thing.
Well, his dad, but I think the whole dad thing was more so that
a form of control.
Well, yeah, they gave him a traumatic life experience that was like crippling.
Which I think should be criminal. Like,
oh God, yeah.
Burn that man at the stake, because that was awful.
And then they kind of like towards the beginning of the movie, they tried to like send him to a different city for work, knowing full well that they were going to re-traumatize him on his way.
Like almost as some kind of a sick test to see if it was still working.
Yeah. I 100%, I guarantee that is why they did that, was to make sure that he still felt that trauma.
Yeah. And you always know a good actor when you can feel empathy for the character that they're portraying. And so really just about every movie I ever watch, I get some kind of empathetic reaction, with
not nearly
with
as much as me though.
but really, like, the amount of empathy that I have for Truman in those moments where he goes back to those places where you can see that hurt and that fear and all of those things just rushing back to keep him where he is. Like, I mean, it really is kind of looking at it from the perspective that I have now as an adult, working with families and things like that. I see, I really do feel bad. Like, like, wow, how can you do this to a person? Like,
yeah, see, like, and that's where I get tripped up, because it's like, I feel bad for Truman, but like the anger in me, like if that were real, like the anger that I would have for those people doing it to him almost outweighs the sympathy for Truman.
Right. And so then you start to understand why there are, like you find out that there are protest groups and stuff like that, trying to get the show shut down um to free Truman. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, and that kind of brings into another thing, like, something that kind of ties in with like the Matrix. You think you might want to be out, but when he gets out, what happens? Like his whole world completely changes. Like, I mean, you look at that life that he lives on that little island, and it is not a modern life. Like, I mean,
No.
it's a hybrid. Like there's modern aspects to his life, but for the most part, it feels like he's living in the 1950s, and so when he gets out and then goes back into, and goes into society for the first time, and everybody is always in a hurry. People aren't moving out of their way to give him a quick drive to work, and like, I mean, all of these things, the environment isn't tailored to make his life convenient to film.
No, there would definitely be some insane amount of shock just in general.
Enough to make him go back, though. Like,
Right.
I mean, is that something that you think would be real? I think he'd consider, like, no, this isn't the real world. I need to go home.
I don't know that he would go back into that, because, like, I mean, if you knew that everyone around you was completely fake, would you really want to go back to that? I mean, I know that the real world would be a shock, but he also had, what was her name, Lauren? She was like on her way to him, and he would have that real person to, like, the love interest that they, like, ran away, like, took away.
Oh, Sylvia.
Okay.
Yeah, well, she
IMDb
was
says
Sylvia playing Lauren.
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, you saw her
Being played by Laura Linney? No,
No.
Laura Linney was his wife.
Natasha.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, Lauren, Sylvia, Yosaf Bridge.
Yosaf Bridge. This is a movie podcast, Jen.
Sorry.
A Firefly reference is definitely welcome, though.
Okay, good. Better be. Otherwise, I quit. I'm guessing she was running to wherever he was leaving to meet back up with him, and hopefully, like, they would have a relationship, because really, you can't build a relationship off of what, like, a couple hours.
Right.
But I would like to think that she would help him adjust through all of that, but I don't think he would go back.
Right.
Even if it was what he knew all his life, I don't think he'd go back.
You know what I think? I think that this kind of environment would make a really good day trip for somebody who needs to get the fuck out of real life.
Yeah.
Like, if this was an amusement park where, I mean, it'd be really goddamn expensive, because you'd have to buy a ticket, and they would have to pay all of those actors to, make you feel like you're, in this world or whatever. But yeah, that would be a hell of an escape. You pay a price, you go in for a whole day, and this whole world is just tailored to make your life ready to be filmed. It'd almost be like the ultimate escapism. I think that from a different perspective, this whole idea could be really cool. I mean, and imagine making a TV show off of that. How different people can live the same day in the life of this town. I don't know. I think it'd be fun.
Ugh. I don't know. Like, that would creep me out so bad. Especially when people start doing that creepy little ad within talking to him. I would just look at them and be like,
just have some milk chocolatey Ovaltine.
yeah. I was just like, lady, shut up, fucking weirdo.
Yes, product placement is really important.
Yeah, but can't they do it like the movies, where they just, like, put an ad up on a, billboard in the background?
I don't know. But hey, it's free shit.
I suppose.
So something else that I'd kind of considered as far as something that this might be good for some viewers would be the overcoming fear aspect.
Yeah, and they really like railed into him towards the end with that.
Right, like with all the different, like environmental controls and everything, but I mean, even like everything from the beginning, Truman's whole journey to break free of his controlled environment, I mean, it can inspire people watching to kind of confront their own fear and break out of their own comfort zones. He couldn't go over water, but when he was in that car, he put that woman's hands on the wheel and stomped on the gas and closed his eyes like, well, she's going to make sure that they get across. So like,
yeah,
first off, brilliant. But yeah, I mean, and a little bit like it also showed a level of trust, even though he was kind of having this weird existential trust issue with her as well.
Oh, I'm pretty sure like he didn't trust her at all by then. He just trusted that she wanted to stay alive herself.
Right. But I mean that's enough trust to keep you from dying.
I guess. Well, but he was so determined to like get away from all of it that it didn't matter to him anymore if he did die. He was just over it. And like, if you were living your life and then started noticing all of these weird things, like, you would think that you were going fucking crazy.
Yes, you would. Like I said before, I mean, this could be inspirational for movie fans that are kind of looking for that empowerment to break out of their very own comfort zones, things like that. Like, I mean, they don't have to be as extreme as, getting off of an island, or crossing an ocean or anything like that. But I mean, there are all kinds of comfort zones that we have really, really big struggles to confront and cross. I mean, everybody does. Do you have any that you can think of that, like, I mean, this movie might be able to, inspire you to look at and kind of see that within yourself?
Like fears to overcome, or
just kind of getting out of your own comfort zone and things like that.
Well, I mean, you know me, I'm pretty timid. But yeah, like he started noticing little things, and then the more he noticed, the stronger he got to fight against it. And I've noticed little things before, like, if people start using me and stuff like that, and being kind of fake people, I start to see them and build it up in my mind, and then I stop it. I'm like, nope, done. You can like come back to me when you're done with this whole only talking to me when you need something and all that kind of stuff. Like it gets to that point, and I think this movie did a good job at showing that like he was kind of noticing it, and then a little bit more, and then he was determined to prove it and be done.
He was done. Yeah.
So like I feel like I kind of do the same thing. Like I see it and I'm like, no, that can't be it. And then I see it more and I see it more, and I'm like, okay, this is done. I'm done.
I think that's because a lot of people want to believe the best in people. Like a lot of people just want to see, they want to believe that the people that they meet and the people that they see regularly have good intentions and good hearts, when it's sad to say that that's just not true. Like there are a lot of people that are perfectly okay with taking advantage of other people.
Right.
And I mean, yes, on the deeper part of that, that with a lot of those people, also have their own things that they're working through, and that's why they are the way they are. But ultimately, I mean, you do have to be, responsible for the amount that you let people trespass on your comfort zone and on your life's control.
I always had a hard time like drawing that line because I'm one of those people that like I want to help out when I can and if I can, but when people are only showing up around the time that they need something, it gets a little annoying. And I try and like give grace because obviously, like for the most part, we just work and sleep. So we don't have a real social life anymore. But I know that like if my friends need me, I'll try and be there for them.
Yeah. I mean, and that's one way that we can kind of set things apart from those people, the people that are willing to take advantage of others is, make sure that you are available for people, even in your busy life,
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad that I don't really hang out with people as much anymore because, adulting is
Right.
stupid and expensive. But I try and contact my friends when I can so that they don't think I'm just, contacting them because I need something.
Yes. Another thing in here that I was kind of looking at, as far as people that this can be good for, another group that I was looking at was people that could be that could take some strength of empowerment by Truman defying the constraints imposed on him could empower people to take control of their lives where they don't have that control. And that kind of ties into a little bit about what you were talking about earlier with, the people overstepping boundaries and things like that. But it could also empower people to pursue authenticity. I don't know. What do you think?
I think his entire existence really was just like, even if he wasn't being monitored and stuff like that, I think it showed that like even everyday life, you can feel like you are trapped. He did the same thing every day. He talked to the same people every day. He saw the same people going by every day. He just like, and you could tell that he wasn't happy in his marriage. He was just, she was there, she was nice, and so he married her because he couldn't have the one he really wanted. But like the only time that you really see him kind of be himself is with his friend Marlon.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks that like the rest of his life, like even unaware of the dome and everything, like he was kind of trapped in every situation.
Right. Like that brings up something for me, Marlon. In that moment where he had kind of started to have things like pushed at him just before they brought his dad back.
Yeah.
Or whatever. When he and Marlon were sitting down on the end of that bridge or whatever and drinking and talking and whatever, it was really difficult for me with watching him talking to Truman and then finding out, towards the end of that conversation that it was because, Christoph was feeding him all of those lines. It felt like a betrayal. And then the writers did a really great job there in that moment because they took a moment where he was feeding him a line, and that line was that I would never lie to you. You're my best friend.
Right.
And Marlon takes a moment to where like he stops and you think that he's struggling in himself, thinking to himself, like, can I really tell him this? Like, can I really lie to him like that by telling him that I'm not going to lie to him?
When he's been lying for decades.
And it looks like he's struggling to come to terms with that, but then you just see that he was just acting. And like immediately, like the moment that I was like, okay, I like this guy because he feels bad about doing what he's doing. And then he did that. And then you could tell that he was acting. It's like, nope, you're a dick. Like instantaneously, you're a dick and I'm done with you. Go back to Miracle and be a hockey coach.
Because I hate you in this.
Because I hate you in this movie. You're a dick. And he was a piss poor trumpet player. I'm just saying.
Oh God, yeah. Ooh. I didn't even play trumpet in band, and I think I could beat him.
And I'll tell you something else that I felt about this movie. Especially watching it now. Because like, I mean, this came out in 1998. You know, I mean, I was what, 15, 14 when this movie came out. It was different then. Now there's this little hint of flavor in the water in this movie now about surveillance culture.
No joke.
So, I mean, yes, the whole point of this movie is that this guy is on surveillance for entertainment.
Right.
But it does kind of put into mind, like, I mean, the fact that we are pretty much on camera just about all of the time.
Well, today we even had that happen where I Googled something about like swimming pools because it's almost summer, and literally like an hour later we had an ad on YouTube for swimming pools.
Right.
When we had never had one before.
Yeah. No, or looked it up or anything.
Yeah.
Like, but it's kind of hard to ignore that, you know, like we haven't seen anything for, I'm going to hold my cell phone up so that I can make sure that the microphone can catch me here. When was the last time we said or got any sort of an advertisement for the farmer's dog?
Oh God.
We're going to get I haven't looked it up. I haven't typed it anywhere, but I have said farmer's dog, and I know that I'm going to have a farmer's dog advertisement somewhere in my YouTube or in my Facebook.
That was every freaking break. Now you did it to us again. They finally stopped.
But we're going to start getting that stuff now, and it's just from saying around some kind of a device. And so
I'm going to punch you every time I see that ad now. I'm just so you know, you're going to get punched.
No. But seriously though, like, but the thing is that now that we know that our devices are listening to us, and it's mostly being used for advertising and marketing. Now we have this whole thing that we have to learn to cope with it. Like, there's nothing any of us are ever going to do about any of these things.
No. Well, and
so
wasn't it the Social Dilemma that talked about how often those things like sell to us and how often they take information on our phone?
I think there was. The only problem that I have with that is that I haven't looked into the legitimacy of that particular documentary. But before I really start, you know, giving too much credit to documentaries, I like to see where they were, like who made them and where they came from.
I know.
There's too many of them out there that are, you know. But yeah, I mean the privacy concerns are definitely a reality for us today. I mean, I think, well, you talked about Taylor Swift. Wasn't it Taylor Swift that like had a bunch of selfies stolen off of her phone?
Oh, I have no idea.
Like, I've seen it though. Like I've seen reports and stuff like that where these celebrity women take selfies, you know, to send to their boyfriends or whatever, and they get stolen off of their phones.
It doesn't even have to be celebrities. There was a girl in a nearby town. I heard that somebody hacked her camera on her laptop and took screenshots of her without her knowing, and then tried to blackmail her and saying that she was going to let everybody know about it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
awful. But I mean, that's seriously, like with the world the way that it is now, like that surveillance culture thing is just kind of becoming a reality.
Dude, if this movie was ever even considered to be a thing, I would be so angry. Like, it's not okay.
Right. Well, what was that other one? The Circle, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But that was voluntary.
Well, I mean, even then, it was voluntary that she put her entire life on social media, but
even that went too far.
Right. But even then, like, even when it wasn't voluntary, all of that stuff was still there.
Yeah.
Like, so, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. It also makes me think of Enemy of the State. Did you ever see that?
I want to say yes, but I don't remember.
No, Enemy of the State was very much like a more visceral look at surveillance culture, where our traffic cameras and things like that can be used to track us in various different ways. And I'm not even saying that this stuff being out there is a bad thing. Like,
No.
It's just a bad thing. I mean, how many shows have we watched where the reason why murders were solved was simply because of CCTV?
Yeah.
And Ring cameras and
Yep, those have put people behind bars, and I am perfectly okay with that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not even just that, like, I'm paranoid that all of this stuff is just going to be bad for everybody, but
surveillance goes along with the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what it is. I don't know. I think that it's got some things that could help people reflect on some things.
Who doesn't love a story about a guy, taking back what is left of his life and, giving someone the finger? Okay, he didn't give anybody the finger, but I mean,
Actually, he kind of did the ultimate giving him the finger by being nice. In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Like, just throwing all that stuff in there.
Yeah, but that look that he gave him as he walked through that door.
Yeah, it definitely was kind of a screw you, dude.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we kind of got right into the heavy right at the beginning. Now, let's talk about some of the fun. I have to tell you that one of the things that kind of made me a little bit jealous of Truman is that he lived in a world that could be night or day at will.
But he couldn't control it.
No, but now that he knows that that's that way, imagine if he could. Oh my God. I would love that so much. Yeah. I would actually probably just make it nighttime all the time, so I'd never have to cut my lawn.
I mean, I don't think you would make it like dark all the time, but you would definitely make it like,
oh no,
70 degrees and cloudy and rainy.
It'd be very dark. Like, it'd be so dark that it could be considered.
Oh my Lanta.
But like,
you would never get out of bed if it was dark all the time.
Oh, it'd be glorious.
It'd be boring.
Well, I mean, they'd have to make sure that I got food somehow, and they'd have to make sure that that I was taken care of, because otherwise they wouldn't have a show.
I like how you say they, knowing full well it would be me.
Well, no, not you, because it would be the people running the show.
Yeah, I know, but they'd have to send your significant other.
Yeah.
I've tried to get you out of bed. It's not fun.
Are you serious? Are you like secretly an actress?
No, I couldn't fake that crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not really a very good liar.
Not really, no.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, that's good. You're not an actress, so I don't have to worry about that. Another thing that I really liked was the two guys, like,
the twins
that were looking for an insurance policy, and
they wanted shoving him into the wall.
They wanted airtime, so they'd push him into the wall to get in front of the camera. I love that.
Dude, if somebody came up to me and just kept pushing me into a wall, I'd be like, dude, hands off.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a thing though. Like, I mean, cuz that was two actors that were trying to get FaceTime, right? You know, cuz the more time that you get in something like that where people see your face, the more recognition you get and the more likely that you're going to find other acting jobs. That has actually happened recently. Well, I mean, I guess not super recently, but Pedro Pascal, the actor for Din in The Mandalorian, that was the whole reason why they had him take his helmet off. He wasn't supposed to take his helmet off, but he wanted to show his face in the show because he wanted to have FaceTime on the show so that he could, you know, have more exposure.
Right.
I mean, it sucks because like Mandalorians aren't supposed to take their helmets off. but I mean, but I get it. Like I totally understand. Like you don't want to get, you know, overlooked just because you don't have a face, you know?
When he starts to like, after he sees the fingers crossed in the wedding photo and starts to like,
oh yeah,
turn against her.
Every time I watch that movie, I completely forget about that whole thing. Like, are you serious? Like the whole crossing the fingers thing? Like, come on now. Like that's got to go beyond the profession. Like, do you think that that's what actors do in movies?
No.
Are you sure? We'll have to pay close attention to that. We'll have to watch some of those things, some of those movies where people are getting married, and we'll have to see if they've got their fingers crossed.
Yep, I'm sure. Every time. Dork. When he's drawing, like in the mornings, he gives himself these pep talks and like goofs around in that mirror in the bathroom, and I find them hilarious.
Most of those are unscripted.
Of course they are.
Because any director, any movie director that has Jim Carrey on their set and they never once say, do what you do best. Do whatever you want. If they don't ever do that at one point in filming, then they are wasting half of the money that they're paying that man. Because I mean, there are some people. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the Jim Carrey stuff has really annoyed the shit out of me. But when it comes to comedy, that guy is brilliant and he is quick, and it is a waste not to just give him a few moments in front of the camera with the film rolling, or I guess the SD card rolling. You know, with just to give him a few moments to do what he does best, to make some really great scenes that are probably going to end up being some of people's favorite stuff.
Oh yeah. Or the car ride at the beginning where he's just like going around in circles. Look at that. There's no cars here. Same road.
Oh yeah, when he finally starts figuring things out and he starts seeing the patterns of the people moving and all of that stuff. I mean, how did they not catch him doing that and then like stop those cars from driving their pattern?
Yeah,
and, you know, stop the lady on the bike and be like, he just said that there's going to be a lady on the bike followed by a guy with flowers. Tell him to stop. Tell them to stop where they are. Like,
right. They just let it keep going. I'm just like, okay, I know it's been 30 years and he's just now starting this, but you should have had a plan.
Right. Oi. There was also a really good point that kind of came up in that. And I think that once in a while you'll actually come across this in like real relationships and things like that, where it was right at the end there, right before Truman walked off the set, I suppose. When Christoph told him, I know you better than you know yourself. And I mean, I swear to God that this is probably something that every woman has ever heard from a boyfriend at some point in their life.
No, never.
but it's like but his response to that was kind of perfect. And he said, "You never had a camera in my head." And I don't know, there's just a lot of I feel like there's a lot of gusto in that, potentially for a lot of people.
I mean, it's
know.
good to have people around that have been around long enough that they know you well enough to tell you their truth. But nobody can ever really tell you your own. They can say, well, you know, from my perspective, it looks like this, but I don't, like he said, you're not in my head.
Right. If I can just say that I think that very few movies in history have had one line that just made so much sense to me, made me crack up quite as much as, "Somebody help me, I'm being spontaneous." I need to yell that every now and again.
Please not when we're in the store.
I'm going to do that in the grocery store now. So the other thing is the whole Fiji thing. Like, I mean, I don't, the whole thing that's weird to me is that, like, he was really obsessed with this woman
In such a short amount of time.
that he really didn't know. When the actor said, you know, "I'm her dad and we're leaving." "Well, where are you going?" "We're going to Fiji." Like,
Then he was obsessed with it ever since. Like, he even had the maps on the freaking walls in his basement.
Right. Like, going to Fiji just became a thing for him. And like, and I don't know, it's kind of funny how, like, I mean, it's like they never tried to make that something to correct or anything. Like, they didn't try to bring something into you know, to distract from that.
Well, I don't even think that they really paid that close of attention to it when it was happening, because it was just an actor spewing something.
But the viewers did. Like, because I don't know if, like, when those two women were talking about the show, you know, you can take her away, but you can't take away the memory.
Right.
And I mean, that's very real. Like, you know, so, I mean, it's unhealthy as hell that he was that obsessed over somebody that he knew for, like, I would say that a sizable portion of the time that they knew each other was spent looking at each other, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like, so,
they said a few things to each other. There was like a 15-minute conversation.
Right. And then a long run to the beach.
Yes.
And there you go. But
keep your hands inside the car.
Yeah. And they're just not, I mean, that's really not healthy at all.
Well, from her perspective, it's not as bad because clearly she watched the show because she had a pin on that was in reference to the show. But like from his standpoint, yeah, it was extra.
Right. Trying to see if I can find some other really great moments in this movie based on some of the stuff in here, like some of the quotes and stuff.
Can I just say that weird laugh that he does after his good afternoon, good evening, and good night thing, like where he arches his whole freaking body, it was just kind of weird and super fakey.
Oh, that is totally Jim Carrey, though.
It is, but if
I think
someone
he does that in just about every movie he's ever been in.
Right, but like in the movie context, like if somebody did that in front of me, I'd be like, okay, I sense the sarcasm. Calm yourself.
Right.
There's nothing subtle about that.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, I also really liked the whole thing where, like when Truman disappeared and they ordered him to cut the transmission, and I love how the whole world was just glued to their TVs waiting for that picture to come back.
Or the man in the bathtub.
The man in the bathtub through the whole movie was just fucking hilarious.
Especially with the storm.
Hold on. Yeah. And the two security guards throughout were pretty good too. I really love the way that they ended it with that. And it would be just like anybody that's stuck in an overnight, overnight security job. It's, oh, what now? Well, where's the TV guide?
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I guess that's kind of my feeling on it as far as people that this movie could help is really, kind of hardcore on that, people who are kind of contemplating their existence, and the choices they make. Let's see here. What was the other one? Overcoming fear.
Feeling trapped.
Yeah. Questioning reality, and empowerment to, to pursue authenticity, those, I think that those are some ways that this movie could really help somebody. So yeah, I really like this movie, and I'm glad you suggested it because I get a kick out of it.
I mean, it's one of those that you can watch and go deep into all of the background dilemmas and stuff like that, but it's also lighthearted enough that if you want to just watch it and laugh, you can just watch it and laugh. If you want to
watch it, eat some popcorn, and just enjoy a movie, it's good for that too. So yeah, I really dig this movie. Thanks for bringing this one.
You're welcome.
Now we're gonna go ahead and call this episode at that. Now I've got something that I need to ask all of you, my listeners out there. If you could all do me a solid and bring a friend to the podcast, I'd appreciate it. If could go and like the Facebook page. It's got the same logo as this one. It's just movie space RX on Facebook, and that's where you can find the group. That's got the same logo as the podcast does. Go and like the Facebook group, and when you get there, find the post for this movie and tell me what you think of this movie. Tell me if it's helped you. If you think that watching it now might give you a different perspective on something in some way. Tell me how this movie goes for you. If you have an idea for a movie, or if you'd like to challenge me to try to find a therapeutic purpose for a movie, or even if you'd like to be on an episode, call or text 402-519-5790. I generally check that a couple of times a week. So if you send a text or leave a voicemail, then I'll get to that as soon as I possibly can. But again, thank you all for listening. And remember, this movie is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And we'll see you at the next appointment.